Good morning. I'm Steve Weber. I am the host of the American Gumption Morning Show, and we are broadcasting live on Friday, October 2nd on Spirituality Gone Wild, and also on the American Gumption Facebook page and American Gumption YouTube channel. So please subscribe to one or all of the above so you'll never miss a show. Alrighty. So anyway, today's Friday, the end of the week. I've had so today is going to be a little bit of a different day. I've done this before, but I haven't done it in a few weeks. Today's going to just be a abbreviated show, a monologue only. I'm just going to talk, and I'm going to clean up some residual stuff that's been sitting out there. I don't have a guest scheduled, so we'll make it a short show. We'll probably go about 30 minutes or so, maybe not even that long. And, I'll just clean up a few things that have been, things I've been wanting to get to. Alrighty. So anyway, but first of all, I want to just say that the last 2 weeks have been real fun for me. I did 5 shows last week with guests, and I did 4 shows this week with guests. And I every one of the guests was great. I really enjoyed, getting into the conversation, and want to thank all of them for being part of the show. And it's just been fun. It really feels like this is what I'm supposed to be doing in terms of the interviewing, the pre-interviews, getting to know them ahead of time, kind of laying out what the story is we're going to talk about, and then the actual talking about it part when we do it live. And some of them work a little better than others, but overall, the last 2 weeks have been a pretty good example of what I would hope the American Gumption Morning Show on Spirituality Gone Wild will be on a week in and week out consistent basis. So that's the goal. That's what I'm working towards. These last 2 weeks felt pretty good that way. So just wanted to say that and thank all of the guests who have appeared these last couple of weeks. So alrighty, I am, like I said, I'm going to do a monologue, and it's just going to be kind of a catch up. It's titled "Catch Up Housekeeping," just because it's just kind of some miscellaneous things that I want to get to. I'm gonna give a health update on my father. We have some good news, and so I'll do that right after these initial announcements, and then we're going to do a movie life lesson. And I just sort of picked one out. Usually I try to pick one out that has to do with my monologue, which has to do with my guest that's coming up. And so since today was just sort of a free-for-all, I just sort of went through and picked one out that I thought might be fun to do. So that's coming up. And it's scene number 25 of the best 94 best scenes from the movie. It's number 25 as I determined last year, and it's called "Don't Be Taking Rides from Strangers." All right, so that's coming up right after the health update on my father. So Monday, now next, let's just talk a little bit about next week. Monday, I am going to not do a live show. I'll take this weekend and Monday and take a little bit of a break. And then also, there's some projects, things that I've been, that I'm going to talk about in just a minute that I've been working on that hopefully I'll just have that 3 days where I can, just sort of dig into some of them. And then we'll get back into the interviews and shows next week, Tuesday through Friday. All right. So that's what you can expect next week. All righty. So let's see here. My father, let's do a screen share here. We'll do that. All righty. Whoops. Here we go. I think I've got this right now. There we are. Yeah, there's my father, 91-year-old Jack Weber. I want to change one little banner here. This is the Jack Weber health update. All right, we got a rolling ticker banner down at the bottom there. So, and Dad, if you're watching downstairs, this is what we're telling everybody the good news. So the story was at the beginning of July, end of June, the very beginning of July, he's got ear troubles where it's just like kind of congestion and clogged up and, wax build up. And so anyway, goes to the family doctor, and they give him some drops to loosen up what's kind of jammed up in there. And then they say, oh, you can get your ear cleaned out and, get it washed out. And so he ends up going back to the doctor, and they kind of do a flush out. Well, then right after that, it ends up getting an infection in the ear. And so He goes maybe one more time to the family doctor, but then eventually to the ear, nose, and throat specialist, and they prescribe some type of an antibiotic or just, I don't know, some drops. Really, it started out with. Anyway, 2 or 3 times back to the ear specialist over the course of the end of July and into August. And the ear is just getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, there's really an infection in there. And so ultimately around the beginning of September, so about a month ago, after multiple trips where they're going and they're giving different types of drops and then even giving some oral medications to try to, kill this infection, none of it's working. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. So they put him in the hospital and they decide that he needs to get some IV meds, some antibiotics that will really end up, killing off this infection. And then they decide it's actually in the bone. So in the meantime, I mean, he's like, it's in the bone right by the ear. And of course that's right by the jaw. And he's having trouble eating just because it's sore on this sore bone and joint in the jaw. So anyway, so he goes into the hospital, gets a PICC line put in. And I never even knew what a PICC line was, but a PICC line is essentially a place where they can put an intravenous line into you, but it's like kind of a more of a permanent setup, and there's got a little valve on it. And so you can just, put medication or UV, like a saline solution right into the bloodstream, and it actually goes up into the shoulder and, deposits it, the medication right near the heart area so that, boom, it just gets instantly spread out there. Well, long story short, that goes on. He comes home from the hospital. We have this PICC line. We're administering the medication on a daily basis. And after about 2 weeks, there's definitely a big improvement in terms of the soreness of the bone area that had been infected. But he's got so much medication in him at this point that he's, his taste buds are shot. He's, his memory's not good. He's getting confused and delusional, and he's having some nightmares and crazy dreams, and taste buds are shot in terms of food doesn't taste right. So anyway, there's these different areas. So, this is sort of building up over at about the end of the 2-week period. And finally we said, hey, docs, take a look at this. This isn't right. And so they stopped the medication and for a couple of days, and they, kind of look them over. And then they decide that they'll continue the medication for another 10 days or so, but at a quarter of the strength that he had. So this is the last time I gave you an update, 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago about that. So anyway, now that's all done. Yesterday, he got the PICC line out. The doctors have said that's the end of it. There's no more to be done. He doesn't have any soreness in the area. The ear, nose, and throat specialist looked in there and said there's still a little bit of, irritation or leftover residual cleaning up, but nobody's worried about it. And the infectious disease doctor, that is actually the one because of the bone infection, he says, we're done. So the medication's over. And so dad's really happy about that and feeling good. And that's it. That's the health update. So he's back to normal. He's been out this week, watering some plants and taking care of some things out in the, just puttering around a little bit. So feeling better. And appetite seems to be better. Taste buds still not 100% correct, but we're hoping that now that the medication is over completely, it'll all be back to normal. So anyway, all the people who have sent good wishes, we thank you. So he's doing just fine and dandy. All righty. So that's so now what I wanted to do next is talk about. I wanted to change a banner here. Be great when I have my producer taking care of all this for me. So we're going to do a movie life lesson. And today's life lesson is scene number 25. Don't be taking rides from strangers. Don't be taking rides from strangers. And don't be watching videos made by strangers. I'm Steve Weber. Now we're not strangers anymore. Here is scene 25 of the 94 best scenes and a corresponding life lesson from the movie Forrest Gump. I've created this video series to honor the movie's 25th anniversary. Forrest hesitates as he's about to get on the bus to school. He remembers what his mother told him. Don't be taking rides from strangers.
Are you coming, Mom?
Mama said not to be taking rides from strangers.
This is the bus to school.
I'm Forrest Gump.
And Dorothy Harris.
Well, now we ain't strangers anymore.
The bus driver, Dorothy Harris, is initially perturbed. She blows cigarette smoke through her nose while explaining it's the bus to school. At the end of the movie, we see little Forrest boarding the bus. Dorothy no longer smokes cigarettes, but now chews gum. Little Forrest boarded the bus with a kinder and gentler Dorothy Harris at the wheel.
You understand this is the bus to the school now, don't you?
Of course, and you are Dorothy Harris, and I'm Forrest Gump.
After Forrest introduced himself and Dorothy introduced herself to him, he felt more comfortable. A proper introduction makes strangers friends, or at least acquaintances. It takes gumption to make new friends. It takes gumption to trust strangers. Do you want to be more Gump-like? Introduce yourself properly whenever you meet a stranger. Turn that stranger into a friend. Let's learn to live our lives with gumption. Alrighty, there we have our life lesson for today. Don't be taking rides from strangers. In the video, which I created last year for the 25th anniversary, I talked about the idea of introducing ourselves and getting rid of the stranger part. You know, when people meet before COVID, they used to shake hands and say hello. Now they have a mask and they don't actually touch each other or even see each other. But people still have a way of connecting and saying hello to each other and introducing each other. I don't know how it works on these Zoom meetings where there's 5 or 10 people. If everybody meets, I usually do one-on-one meetings, and the same thing happens that way. But anyway, that was the lesson that I talked about. It was that, hey, just talk to people, introduce yourself. As soon as you do, it breaks down a barrier. You become familiar, and people like each other. They like to be friends and connected with each other. So that's a nice thing from the movie. Now, there's 2 other things I was thinking about as I watched it this morning, and that's the childhood programming that we have. Don't be taking rides from strangers. Mama told me not to be taking rides from strangers. Those are those things that get programmed into us when we're up to age 7, and they talk about Bruce Lipton at least talks about the fact that a child is in a theta hypnosis brain state up until about age 7, where they are just little programming machines, and so whatever the parents say to them is how they go in, and this is how they learn. And my sister's grandkids, when they come to the house, I see them, they kind of go into this hypnotic state from time to time, where they're you could talk to them and they just don't even hear you. They're focused on what they're doing. And so anyway, these programming that comes into our lives when we're young, don't be taking rides from strangers, that sticks with us for our entire life. And so, what would that particular programming do? Well, it might keep you from getting into a car with someone who you don't know and getting yourself in trouble. The other thing, though, it might do is it might, say that, people that you don't know are somehow bad or a danger to you. And so, maybe you develop a non-trust for people where, if you don't know somebody, you just instantly don't trust them and have a fear of it. Don't be taking rides from strangers. Oh, strangers are, what's the implication? Strangers are bad and can do you harm. Well, that certainly could be true, and it also could not be true. Somebody who you don't know might be someone you want to know and someone you want to trust and be friends with. So anyway, that it just reminded me of the programming that goes on at that young age, and then these things work in our subconscious over and over and over again. And as we become more aware and we reach a state of consciousness, we attempt to look back and eliminate some of those programmings that we received that no longer serve us, that were good for us when we're little kids to keep us safe, but aren't necessarily things that we want to have as we're adults and living our life today. And then the other thing I wanted to mention about that scene is the patterns repeating themselves, although it was a little different. So you had Forrest Gump as a little boy, and then the next generation, you see Forrest's son, young Forrest Gump, little Forrest, and he's getting on the bus. And here's the bus driver, the same woman. She's a younger version when Forrest Gump gets on the bus, and she's smoking cigarettes, and she even blows smoke out of her nose. It's a great scene. When you see it, you're like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. Cigarettes hanging out of the mouth of a bus driver getting on the bus. And but then young Forrest Gump comes, and of course now we've evolved as a society, so bus drivers don't smoke any longer, but she's chewing gum and but she's like a softer, gentler, older version of herself. So that's kind of funny. And of course, little Forrest is different than his father was, where Forrest Gump is like, Mama said not to be taking rides from strangers, kind of like real hesitant. And whereas young Forrest, little Forrest Gump, his son, is saying, yeah, I'm Forrest Gump and you're Dorothy Harris, and this is the bus to school. So Forrest had obviously talked to little Forrest, his son, about who the bus driver was going to be, and he knew it, and he was prepared, maybe better than Forrest Gump had been prepared by his mother as they went off to school. So anyway, that's today's lesson from the movie Forrest Gump. All righty, now I'm going to shift gears one more time. Let's change the. Well, no, we'll keep that banner there. Let's do this. We are going to talk about the membership site. So this is where I get into I've got two monologue topics that I want to talk about. One is the member site, and then one is a service that I'm really considering offering to organizations or to individuals that could need some help. And so the first one will be an update on the member site, and then the second one will be about this what I'm calling video host as a service. So anyway, the members or the technology for the membership site is I have created. This is show number 43. And so we started on August 3rd, and I did 20 shows in August, and I did 21 shows in September, and this is now 2 shows in October. So that means by Christmas, I could be close to 100. Now, whether I'm going to do 20 shows in December, I don't know that. So I may not get to 100, but roughly, let's just say it's going to be in the, certainly in the 90s by the end of the year. So a lot of content being created. They're an hour long. So the vision for what the member site will be, it will be the place where all of this content is created. And so there's an interview, not every day, but most days, and long term, that's the goal, is to have an interview per day. And so, it will never be 100% days that I do them, but most days will have, so that's kind of the big piece, is like the interview portion. But then, there's that monologue at the beginning. There's the movie life lesson. There's the Throwback Thursday segments, obviously going on Thursdays. There's Tuesdays, we have Brandon Schaefer coming in, does his little simple motivation segment. There's an organization that I've been talking to for really a couple of years, and we talked again, but nothing ever happened, when I first started, about a Friday segment. I won't say anything more about it than now, other than that could be part of what I offer on a regular ongoing basis. I have the vision of what I'm calling bench gumption, which is basically a picture of a bench, some kind of a nice inspirational scene, and then a quote. And so I'm envisioning a segment of bench gumption where, every day I just do it maybe 2 minutes long and show a picture, throw up a quote, and just have a little bit of inspiration. And then those could be broken down into separate little segments. That's pretty much ready to go, other than the fact that I just haven't, organized myself to start doing it. Once it starts, it's got to be done day in and day out. So that's all, in the planning and in the development stage. So there's all these pieces of content. Now take those pieces of content back up to the member site. All right. So now all of these different content pieces are there. Now they need to be tagged and organized and connected and linked so that articles or like segments can be grouped together. And also, if you have, we had Nikki Roscoe on earlier this week. She's done three. Whoops, here it is. She's done three segments with us now. Well, we want all three of those segments to be grouped together and organized so that a person could watch one and then the other and then the other. And and our guest yesterday, Heather Holmes, we've invited her to come back talking about the probiotic cleaning solutions. And the first interview was really the foundation. And then the next interview, we're going to go deeper into one piece. So many of my guests will end up coming back and repeating. And the idea in the member site is that all of this content will be organized and accessible and easy to get to. And I imagine it being either a monthly or a yearly fee in terms of being part of it, but that content is always available and not necessarily a big, huge expense, because I'm hoping I'll have certain numbers of people that, are consuming this. And so anyway, this is how it'll all work. Now you have all this content, and then what you can do with it is you can break it out into even smaller chunks and use it like a 30-second clip here from like a segment from the conversation yesterday with Heather, or, something that Nikki said in episode 1 or interview 1 and then interview 2, and tie them together. All these things, of course, take time to edit them and organize it and bring it together. But those segments, those little snippets could then be shared and will be shared on the different social platforms on an ongoing, regular basis to help promote and grow the channel. And so that's kind of what I'm working on. I have the foundation of it all laid, but I don't have it all. The biggest piece now is kind of like the connecting of it from a strategic point of view. What are all the pieces and how do they connect and that sort of thing? And then once that happens, then it's just a matter of filling in all the pieces to different places. So anyway, that's all being worked on, and I'll be working on that the next couple of days when I take off Monday, but over the weekend. So anyway, but like I said, you can promote this with even a 30-second clip here, a 30-second clip there, and share that on Facebook or Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, that sort of thing. Now I'm going to have to build a team. This is not something I can do on my own. My job will be the, communicating, the interviewing, and the on-air personality, and the, making sure that the pre-interviews, figuring out what the story is going to be, and then kind of keeping the show more or less like content-wise operating and running. So that's, but then I'll need a content manager, somebody who's taking all this content and kind of breaking it down and then figuring out where it all gets shared off to. And I'm doing that stuff myself now, and I'm not doing it as well as it could be done and will be done in the future. But that's what, this is what I'm visioning. I'm also going to need a technology manager, somebody who really, manages to making sure technology-wise it all works. And I have some people helping me with pieces of it, but I'm doing a lot of that myself now. So anyway, this is all kind of coming together behind the scenes. The reality is that it's going to take another couple of months to have it completely automated to where it's all happening. And after every show, all the things that need to happen afterwards get not instantly, but that day happened and then uploaded to the member site. And then that's where the content can be consumed. Now, the content will forever live on YouTube or on the Facebook American Gumption page, so people can go back and look at it. But, that's just a big, that's just big, you watch the entire show, the value is in that different segments are connected to each other and sorted out. And so we'll see how that goes, but that's what I'm working on. And I hope by the end of the year, I have that, kind of up in place and have some help that will allow me to, just focus primarily on the interview itself and that sort of thing. All right. So now shifting gears, we're going to, let me change the banner. There we go. We'll do that one, and we'll change this overlay. Let's see, change by Gumption, and I'm just putting it change by Gumption because that's what I've envisioned my consulting service to be as part of the Speaking Gump brand. And again, all these things are happening behind the scenes, but not quite available in their final form, but they're coming along. So. But I'm talking about video host as a service. Now, what does that mean? Here I am doing this show. Well, imagine I'm doing a show for an organization. So you have some kind of an organization, and they obviously have to be, a larger organization. Otherwise, they wouldn't need this service. But this organization is spread out across the country, and they have locations all across the country. And for the sake of argument, we'll say it's an RV dealership. And so they have locations in Florida and Texas and New York and Pennsylvania and, all over Colorado, Arizona, all over the place. Now, this organization at each location, they have a general manager, and then they have a sales manager, and they have sales people, and then they have a service manager, and they have service people. So my vision for helping an organization like that would be that create essentially like an internal type of broadcast where the different general managers, I could interview them. And so different general managers from different locations could all be interviewed and all get to know each other a little bit. And of course, the other people within the organization and the people in Colorado would get to know who the people leading the Florida stores are, and vice versa. And the same thing with service managers and salespeople. And imagine that you create this kind of a network where, of course, it's all done by email now. These people are already connected, and they might get together on a yearly basis where they get into the same room and get to know each other, and then they could call each other up. But this is like a video, like storytelling of person where they kind of all get to know each other visually and through the interview process of like just telling who they are and what's going on at their particular store and what they're doing. And so that the other people in the same position as them can watch these and get to know who these people are, and then become, they know each other better because they can see who this person is as they talk about, the particular role they are. And you talk a little bit about who they are as a person. So this is the vision. Now, at the same time, this could be done. There could be external clips that are created at that same time. And again, this isn't necessarily like you're thinking about like, oh, this is for internal, this is for external, but rather you're just having a conversation with it. And then you go, well, this portion belongs internally, and this belongs externally. Now, what does it mean externally? It means that these clips can be on the public side of their websites, where customers who want to come in, now they get to know who the general manager is, and they know who the sales manager and the service manager and some of the service technicians are, and who some of the salespeople are, so that when they walk into the store, they've already met these people visually through the interview process. And I see my role as video host as the one who's interviewing these people and kind of keeping them all on the same page and having some kind of an interview style where it's all happening. So this is what I'm thinking of. Now I need to find this organization, and this organization would then become the primary sponsor for the American Gumption Morning Show. I would continue to do the American Gumption Morning Show, but they would become, they could be the sponsor of doing it. And then I might have so I do this show, and then maybe I do an hour, show like for the internal afterwards. I'm not 100% sure how this will work, and I'm not even sure who the organization is, but I'm envisioning this type of thing. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, because it's just an idea that I've been thinking about, but I have not spoke publicly about it before, and wanted to share that. Alrighty. So now option 2 is video for a host. Is you could be some kind of a spiritual leader, some kind of a teacher, some kind of a coach. So a part of the spirituality gone wild, but you need a series of videos that have you interacting with someone to tell your story. I'm able to just sit up here in front of the camera and kind of spout off for, I've done it for an hour and I've done it for a half hour. But a lot of times people are more comfortable if they can, be interacting with somebody, and the interacting person doesn't even need to be on camera very much, but it's just, there's some kind of a, keeping and prompting them. Now I'm envisioning these types of, this type of is more of a scripted thing. So there's like a designed intent in terms of it. It could be, like a particular message that you want to get out there, but you want to have somebody that you can interact with and serve as, a host, or a somebody to bounce ideas off of, or communicate, or to help to keep you on track, and just make the whole recording process much more efficiency. So that's another option that I'll be offering. And that's how I feel I can continue to do what I love to do, and that's talk and interview people, and explore and develop what it is that help get their message out there. So I'm imagining like some kind of an organization that I'm going to align with, and they are going to be my primary sponsor, and I'm going to work with them for the next 5 to 10 years. And, we'll develop like this whole network within their organization and communicate. And I'll be sort of both a internal and external spokesman for them. The American Gumption show will continue in its current form, but it'll be, sponsored by whoever this organization is. And then in the meantime, if you are some kind of a smaller organization that just needs some videos recorded and wants to have, you feel like you've got the main content, but you just need someone to help you communicate that content and maybe have an interactive way of doing it, then that's something that I will be offering as a service. So that's it for today, folks. I think I think that's all I really wanted to, to share with you. I'm going to, let's see, we'll turn one more thing off. Let's turn that back on there. All right. So yeah, it was a great last 2 weeks. I want to thank all the hosts who have come on the show, and I love what this is turning into being, because it's just a conversation, but it's some kind of a message that these people that I'm interviewing, they've got something special to offer the world, and my job is to help them, share that, and I love doing that, and I'm curious and love to just find out what makes people think. So really, it's ordinary Americans doing extraordinary things. That's what American Gumption is all about. All righty. Well, that was thanks for indulging me and letting me ramble on this week. The last couple of weeks, we've had a great show. Monday, no live show. I'm going to work a little bit more on some of these back end things. So I'll take 3 days and not do a show, but we'll come back on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Next week, we'll be live, and we'll have guests, and we'll make it all happen. So everybody have a great weekend. Thank you so much for being part of the show. We wrap up show number 43, and I don't know whether I'm going to make it to 100 by the end of the year, but it'll be close. It'll certainly be in the 90s. So that's and then we'll have that membership site up and running, by the in the next couple of months. So anyway, that's what's happening. I wish you a great weekend. We'll see you next Tuesday, everybody. Whoops, wait a minute. I got to play the closing song.